the sweet potato here was most likely planted late July. So this is one crop that will stand the hot weather of Florida, and it does grow really well under high temperatures, no problem. But this is a time when you will be harvesting. If you plant it in July, they are ready to harvest. By the time when it's ready to harvest, it just fills the ground, the top. You can see all these leaves. And then also some of them will start flowering, most of these varieties, by this time when the tuber is ready. And James, you want to tell me about what this variety is?
Yeah, sure. This is a burgundy variety. It's a deep orange sweet potato. It's really velvety, it stores well, and it's not too sweet, but it has a lot of good flavor. So when you plant sweet potatoes, you plant them in slips. So you just take, this would have like a little root growing out of it, and you just stick it in the ground, and that's all you got to do. And then they start coming up. So where you stick that portion in the ground, the rest of the sweet potatoes propagate. And all you have to do to store these is just leave them like this, and then when you're ready to eat them, wash them off. But 3 to 6 weeks of storage is nice to get them super sweet. And as you can see, we have them planted. You can see the rows between the hay mulch. That's where the slips were originally planted. The greens are also very edible, and I don't like them raw, but some people, you can eat them raw. And they saute just like any other green that's slightly fibrous. But yeah, if you're desperate in the summer trying to eat local sweet potato greens, you can.
Sweet potato greens are a really interesting vegetable. If you collect only the young leaves and cook it, it makes a very interesting taste. I did not find any particular flavor to the leaf, so it just stays neutral in that sense, but it's a very nutritious food because the inside looks like. And the orange ones have a lot of beta carotene, so this is a very nice quality. Yeah, and also that when you see a sweet potato, if it's attacked by insects, you'll have a little holes in them. And that's one of the tests. Like first you look at it, and if it's smooth, it's a very good type. I mean, there's not major problem here, and very good to use. And also the shape of the sweet potato will change if there are nematode problems in the ground. You get this misshapen ones, but these are really perfect, really beautiful sweet potato. Okay? Whew. Thank you.
Yeah, so the way you harvest these is you just, you like go to the side of the row, and you just kind of loosen up the soil, and then you just dig around like a, whatever digs, a mole, I don't know. Great, oh man, I'm losing my oxalis. Cool, shall we go to the next field? Cool.
I think we should look at the irrigation setup you guys are using.
Very cool.
And that multiple vegetable bed.
Cool.
Okay. So in this garden, they're getting water from the city. It's the city water that's supplying to the plants. And so in each plot, they have a regulator. So this regulator is going to control how much water on what time, so they can fix the timer. So every day it's going to irrigate the field. And the irrigation is by drip irrigation. So what you see here is the tube that is taking the water in, and then each one of this bed is supplied with the 2 or 3 specific drip tape. In the industry, they call this a drip tape, although it's actually a thin tube. And they call it a tape because it is usually rolled as a tape, as a thin tape. So these are easy to hook up, and after it's attached, you can switch off, on, and then the water is going to trickle exactly where the plants are. There is a tiny hole through which the water is trickling down slowly, and then over a period of time, it's going to get irrigated completely. The beauty of this system, as opposed to overhead irrigation, is that it saves a lot of water, almost like 80% reduction of water compared to if you are spraying water on the with the overhead. So this is very, very economical in that regard. So that's a system they're using, right, Jamie?
Yeah.
So you know how long it's operated every day?
Yeah, so if it's been raining, then I turn it off because you don't want to saturate the plants either. But we do 30-minute intervals once a day, and that's enough.
Okay, very good. Okay, in terms of soil management, I'm going to ask some questions. They are using organic amendments as fertilizer. So, and what kind of organic fertilizer, compost or something you are putting it out?
Yeah, we're
And how do you
putting
do that?
down, well, we're trying to move away from tilling, but when we till the fields, before we form them into beds, we'll put down a brand of fertilizer, which is a mixture of blood and bone meal, and it's pelletized, and then it's a slow release fertilizer, so you have to put it down a little before you plant. And then we also are working on an awesome new compost project. We have a little demo compost, but we are also using some of the bat guano from the bat houses and mixing that with some wood mulch with our tractor and letting that become an amendment for us. We noticed that you know, the amendments are kind of a bottleneck on the farm, so we're trying to address that.
There is a small bat house nearby, so it's easy for them to get the bat guano. But bat guano is normally a much higher concentration of nitrogen than other sources like you know, chicken manure or other manure sources. So because of that, they are mixing that with other mulch, so usually wood mulch,
Yep.
and then they are composting it together, and that compost is what's applied here. Okay. So here they seem to have done a variety of different crops, and this was done as part of education for a class project. So that means that instead of planting like only one crop, each of this bed has got multiple crops that have been planted. So they seem to have started with the one crop and have a label, beautiful label made for each one of those rows. And then as some of the varieties didn't do well, they kind of added new varieties and new things, other crops, and then they filled it out. So right now we are in November, and this is the best time for growing some of the cool season vegetables. They do well. As the time goes by, the temperature will come down, and it's really good. So the seedlings, they are either purchasing it or generating their own seedlings. Now James will show us some of the transplants they have. So at the moment they have some of the herb transplants, so we could look at that.